Good evening, my friends. The truth I'm going to reveal tonight will shatter one of the most persistent illusions that keeps humanity trapped in endless cycles of wanting, hoping, and never receiving. That illusion is this: the belief that you must see signs before you can believe, that manifestation is a slow process, that you must wait for evidence before you can know your desire is real. Where are the signs? You cry. Give me proof that this is working. I've been imagining for weeks. Where are the results? These are the desperate pleas I hear from students all across the country. These are the very words that reveal why their desires remain locked away from them. Tonight, I declare to you a truth so revolutionary, so contrary to everything you've been taught, that your mind will resist it. Manifestation is always instant, always. And the very act of looking for signs is the great destroyer of manifestation itself. You see, when you look for signs, you're unconsciously declaring that your desire hasn't manifested yet. You're living in the state of waiting for it to happen, rather than knowing it has happened. And that state, that consciousness of waiting, is exactly what you'll continue to experience. I can see some of you shifting uncomfortably in your seats. Good. Truth should disturb you. It should shake you awake from the comfortable lie that manifestation is about time, about effort, about deserving, about signs. Let me shatter another illusion for you. Manifestation is not about time. It's about assumption. It's not about effort. It's about acceptance. It's not about deserving. It's about consciousness. The moment, the very instant, you truly assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, that desire is completely manifest in consciousness. Not partially, not gradually, completely. And consciousness, whether you believe it or not, is the only reality there is. Now you're asking the burning question. If manifestation is instant, Neville, why don't I see results immediately? Why does it sometimes take weeks, months, or even years for things to appear in my physical world? Listen closely, for this is where most students lose their way. The delay you experience is not in the manifestation. It's in your acceptance of the manifestation. Your desire is not slowly coming to you. You are slowly coming to your desire. You're gradually moving into the state of consciousness where your fulfilled desire feels natural, normal, inevitable. A desperate woman once confronted me after a lecture in New York. She was trembling with frustration. "Mr. Goddard," she said, her voice breaking, "I've been imagining prosperity for 3 months, every night, faithfully. But I see nothing. My bills pile higher, my bank account shrinks, my creditors call daily. Where are the signs? Where is even one small indication that this is working?" I looked into her eyes and saw immediately why her prosperity remained elusive. "Madam," I said gently but firmly, "you have just confessed your sin. You are looking for signs. Every morning when you wake, what do you do first?" "I check my bank account," she admitted. "And what are you looking for?" "To see if money has appeared." "And when you find the balance unchanged, what do you feel?" Her shoulders sagged. Disappointment. Doubt, fear that it's not working. "Then you have your answer," I told her. "You are not imagining from prosperity. You are imagining toward it. You are not assuming abundance. You are hoping for it. And hope, dear lady, is the great destroyer of all manifestation." What I taught her next changed her life forever. I leaned forward and spoke words that cut through her desperation like a sword through silk. Stop looking for signs and start being the sign. If you were truly prosperous, not hoping to be, not trying to be, but actually prosperous in consciousness, would you be frantically checking your bank account each morning? Would you be searching your mailbox like a beggar looking for scraps? The question hung in the air between us. I could see the truth dawning in her eyes. A prosperous woman, I continued, wakes with the quiet confidence of someone whose abundance is assured. She moves through her day making decisions from plenty, not scarcity. She doesn't look for prosperity because she lives from prosperity. This woman made a decision that night that transformed everything. She stopped her morning ritual of checking her bank account. She stopped scanning her mail for unexpected money. She stopped asking the universe for signs. Instead, she began each day feeling the contentment of a woman whose financial worries were behind her. The change was swift and dramatic. Within weeks, opportunities appeared from the most unexpected sources. Old debts were repaid. New income streams opened, and prosperity flowed into her life with such naturalness that she later told me it felt not like a miracle, but like the inevitable unfolding of what had always been true. But mark this well, she stopped looking for her prosperity the moment she started living from it. This reveals the great secret that mystics throughout the ages have whispered in sacred chambers. When you stop looking for your manifestation and start living from it, the physical world has no choice but to conform to your assumption. But why is this principle so difficult for the human mind to grasp? Because we have been trained backwards, conditioned to believe in a sequence that doesn't exist. We think first desire, then effort, then signs, then manifestation. This is the great lie. The true sequence is this. Desire appears, manifestation occurs instantly in consciousness, acceptance gradually dawns, and finally, inevitably, reflection appears in the physical world. Most souls get trapped in the middle phase. They desire, the desire manifests immediately in consciousness, but then they panic and start searching for external proof before they'll accept what has already been completed in the realm of reality. It's as if you planted a seed in perfect soil, then spent every day digging it up to see if it was growing. The very searching destroys what you seek. Consider another case that came to my attention. A young man burning with love for a woman who seemed as distant as the stars. For months he had been faithfully imagining conversations with her, seeing himself as her chosen one, feeling the bliss of being beloved by her. Yet each day brought fresh torment. He analyzed every glance she gave him. He dissected every word she spoke. He read meaning into every pause, every smile, every gesture. Surely, he thought, if my imagination is working, there must be some sign in her behavior. When he came to me, his eyes were hollow with exhaustion. "Mr. Goddard," he said, "I've been so faithful to my imaginal acts, but she shows no interest. If anything, she seems more distant than before. How long must I wait for signs that she's beginning to love me?" "Young man," I replied, "you've answered your own question without knowing it. You're waiting for signs. Every moment you spend analyzing her behavior for evidence of love, you're affirming that she doesn't love you yet. You're living in the consciousness of hoping to be loved, rather than knowing you are beloved." I could see the confusion in his face, so I spoke more directly. "Tell me, when a man knows he is deeply loved by a woman, does he spend his days anxiously searching her face for proof? Does he analyze her every word for hidden meaning? No, he simply enjoys the love that exists between them." The transformation in his understanding was immediate. "You're saying I should act as if she already loves me." "I'm saying something far more radical than that," I replied. "I'm saying she does already love you in consciousness, where all reality exists. Your only task is to stop contradicting that reality with your seeking and start living from it with your being." What happened next demonstrates the power of this principle perfectly. The moment he stopped searching her behavior for signs of love and started simply being a man who was loved, everything changed. He became relaxed in her presence instead of anxious. He was naturally himself instead of performing for her approval. He spoke to her from confidence instead of need. Within a fortnight, she began responding to him completely differently. Within a month, she was seeking his company. Within 3 months, she had declared her love for him in words that echoed exactly what he had been imagining all along. But here's what fascinated me most about his account. When she finally spoke those words of love, he felt no surprise, no excitement, no sense of miracle accomplished. Instead, he felt a deep satisfaction, as if something that had always been true was finally being acknowledged by the world of appearances. This is your sign that manifestation has truly occurred in consciousness, when the physical manifestation feels inevitable rather than miraculous, natural rather than supernatural, obvious rather than amazing. Now, I must address the question that's burning in many of your minds tonight. "But Mr. Goddard, surely it's natural to want some confirmation that our imagination is working. How can we know we're not simply deceiving ourselves? There's the trap. You want to know if it's working? Then answer me this. If you were living in the end result of your fulfilled desire, would you be asking if it was working? Would a happily married woman wonder if her marriage was real? Would a truly wealthy man question whether his prosperity existed? The very need for confirmation reveals that you're not living from your desire, you're still living toward it. Here's a truth that will liberate you. When you're genuinely living from your assumption, you don't need external validation because you are the validation. Your entire being becomes evidence of the reality you're inhabiting in consciousness. Let me illustrate this with a story that reveals the profound difference between seeking proof and being proof. A businessman approached me in desperation. His company was failing, creditors were circling, and bankruptcy seemed inevitable. He had been imagining success for months, but saw no change in his circumstances. Mr. Goddard, he said, I visualize prosperity every day, but my accountant shows me nothing but red ink. I pray for a sign, just one indication that my situation is improving. Instead, everything gets worse. How much longer must I wait for evidence that imagination works? I studied his face and saw immediately the source of his continued struggle. Sir, I said, you speak of waiting for evidence, but tell me, when you wake each morning, what do you do first? I check my bank balance and review my debts. And what are you looking for? Some sign of improvement, some indication that things are changing. And when you find no such indication, he slumped in his chair. I feel defeated, hopeless, like a fool for believing in imagination. Then you have solved the mystery of your continued failure, I told him. Every morning you are not rising as a successful businessman. You are rising as a man checking to see if he is successful. Can you see the difference? He sat in silence, the truth of my words sinking in. Finally he spoke. You're saying that by looking for signs of success, I'm actually affirming my current failure. Precisely. A truly successful man doesn't wake wondering if his success is real. He wakes knowing it, feeling it, living from it. His decisions flow from success. His thoughts originate in success. His very posture embodies success. I gave him specific instruction. For the next 30 days you are forbidden to check your bank balance. You are forbidden to review your debts. You are forbidden to ask your accountant for updates. Instead, every morning you will spend 10 minutes feeling the satisfaction of a man whose business thrives beyond his wildest expectations. Feel the relief. Feel the pride. Feel the joy of abundance. But what about my actual bills? He protested. What about the creditors calling? Pay what you can pay from your consciousness of abundance, not scarcity. Make decisions from success, not desperation. And above all, stop looking for signs that you're becoming successful. Start being successful in consciousness right now. The transformation was nothing short of miraculous. Though by the time it manifested, it felt perfectly natural to him. Within 2 weeks, an old business associate contacted him with an unexpected partnership opportunity. Within a month, new contracts appeared from sources he'd never imagined. Within 3 months, his company was not just stable but thriving. But the most remarkable part of his testimony was this. Mr. Goddard, by the time these opportunities appeared, I wasn't even surprised. I had been living from success for so long, in consciousness, that the external success felt like it was simply catching up to where I already was. This is the key to understanding why manifestation is always instant, yet sometimes appears to take time. The manifestation occurs instantly in consciousness. The physical reflection appears when you fully accepted and embodied that consciousness. But the most remarkable part of his testimony was this. Mr. Goddard, by the time these opportunities appeared, I wasn't even surprised. I had been living from success for so long in consciousness that the external success felt like it was simply catching up to where I already was. This is the key to understanding why manifestation is always instant, yet sometimes appears to take time. The manifestation occurs instantly in consciousness. The physical reflection appears when you fully accepted and embodied that consciousness. Let me explain this even more clearly. Imagine consciousness as a vast ocean. Your desire exists in that ocean, as a perfect, complete reality right now. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you dive into that ocean and touch that reality. It's there, it's complete, it's real. But most people, the moment they touch it, panic and swim back to the shore of their old consciousness. Did I really touch it? They wonder. Let me look for signs that it's there. And in that looking, they've already left the ocean where their desire exists and returned to the barren shore of seeking. To manifest in the physical world, you must learn to live in that ocean. You must make your home in the consciousness where your desire exists. Stop swimming back to shore to look for footprints. Stop searching for evidence that the ocean is real. Simply live in it, breathe in it, move in it, until that watery world becomes more natural to you than dry land. Then, and only then, will you look around and find that the physical world has somehow become the ocean you were living in all along. Now some of you are thinking, but Neville, what about synchronicities? What about meaningful coincidences? Aren't those signs that our manifestation is coming? Listen carefully, for this distinction is crucial. True synchronicities occur when you're living from your assumption, not when you're looking for proof of it. When you're genuinely inhabiting the consciousness of your fulfilled desire, the universe naturally rearranges itself to support that state. Events occur, people appear, opportunities emerge, but these are not signs that your manifestation is coming. They are expressions of the manifestation that has already occurred in consciousness and is now reflecting into the physical world. The difference? When you're looking for signs, you see them as proof that you're on the right track, and you feel relief. See? It's working. But when you're living from your assumption, synchronicities feel perfectly natural, even expected. Of course this happened. This is consistent with who I am. One is the consciousness of seeking. The other is the consciousness of being. A woman came to me once with an interesting observation. She said, "Mr. Goddard, I've noticed something strange. When I desperately looked for signs that my desire was manifesting, I saw none. But now that I've stopped looking and simply lived from my fulfilled desire, I see synchronicities everywhere. Why is that?" I smiled at her question because it revealed her growth in understanding. "My dear," I said, "you've discovered one of the great paradoxes of manifestation. When you look for signs, you see none, because your looking comes from lack. But when you stop looking and simply live from fulfillment, signs appear everywhere because your being creates them. It's like this," I continued. "A desperate person looks at a closed door and sees only an obstacle. But a confident person looks at the same door and sees an opportunity. They simply open it and walk through. The door hasn't changed. The consciousness observing it has changed." She understood immediately. The synchronicities had always been there, but only when she stopped looking for them as proof of something coming could she see them as expressions of something that already was. Here's a practical technique I want to share with you tonight. Something you can apply immediately. Tonight, when you lie down to sleep, choose one desire, just one. Instead of imagining it coming to you, imagine that it has been yours for quite some time. Imagine the naturalness of it, the ordinariness of it, the taken for granted quality of it. If you're manifesting prosperity, don't imagine receiving money. Imagine the comfortable feeling of someone who has had abundance for years. Feel the casualness with which you make financial decisions. Feel the ease, the security, the confidence that comes from long-established prosperity. If you're manifesting love, don't imagine the moment of falling in love. Imagine the comfortable intimacy of a relationship that has matured over time. Feel the security of being deeply known and cherished. Feel the ease of being with someone who loves you completely. Can you feel the difference? One consciousness is anticipating, waiting, hoping. The other is relaxing, enjoying, being. One is looking toward a future moment. The other is living in an eternal present. And here's what will happen when you truly embody this consciousness. When you genuinely live from the assumption that your desire has been fulfilled for quite some time, you'll stop looking for signs. Not because you've given up, but because you're already living in the fulfillment. A sign indicates something that might be coming. But you don't need signs when you're already there. If you're manifesting love, Don't imagine the moment of falling in love. Imagine the comfortable intimacy of a relationship that has matured over time. Feel the security of being deeply known and cherished. Feel the ease of being with someone who loves you completely. Can you feel the difference? One consciousness is anticipating, waiting, hoping. The other is relaxing, enjoying, being. One is looking toward a future moment. The other is living in an eternal present. And here's what will happen. When you truly embody this consciousness, when you genuinely live from the assumption that your desire has been fulfilled for quite some time, you'll stop looking for signs, not because you've given up, but because you're already living in the fulfillment. A sign indicates something that might be coming. But you don't need signs when you're already there. Let me share one final story that encapsulates everything I've taught tonight. Years ago, when I was still in Barbados, I had an intense desire to come to New York to study these very principles I now teach. But my circumstances seemed impossibly opposed to this desire. I had no money, no connections, no apparent way to make this journey. Most people in my position would have looked for signs. They would have watched for opportunities, searched for open doors, waited for indications that their desire was possible. But I had already learned the secret I'm sharing with you tonight. I didn't look for signs that I would go to New York. Instead, I went to New York in consciousness. Every night I fell asleep walking the streets of that great city. I felt the different air, saw the tall buildings, heard the sounds of Manhattan. I lived there so completely in consciousness that Barbados began to feel like the dream and New York like the reality. I didn't wait for signs. I didn't look for opportunities. I simply lived from the assumption that I belonged in New York, and I let the physical world catch up to where I already was in consciousness. And it did, in ways I could never have predicted or planned. Opportunities appeared, doors opened, and within months I found myself physically standing on the streets I had walked nightly in imagination. But by the time my feet touched New York pavement, I felt no sense of miracle or surprise. I felt I had finally arrived at a destination I'd been living in for months. The physical journey was merely the final step in a journey that had been completed in consciousness long before. This is what I mean when I say manifestation is always instant. The moment I truly assumed I belonged in New York, I was there, in consciousness, which is the only reality. The physical journey was simply the shadow catching up to the substance, the reflection conforming to the real. So tonight I leave you with this challenge. Choose one desire. Stop looking for signs that it's coming. Stop searching for evidence that it's possible. Stop wondering if it's working. Instead, assume it has already happened. Not that it will happen, not that it's trying to happen, but that it has happened. Assume you've been living in the fulfillment of this desire for quite some time. Let yourself feel the naturalness of it, the ordinariness of it, the taken for granted quality of it, and then, most importantly, live from that assumption regardless of what your physical senses tell you. When your bank account contradicts your assumed prosperity, live from prosperity anyway. When your empty apartment contradicts your assumed love, live from love anyway. When your current circumstances contradict your assumed success, live from success anyway. Not because you're denying reality, but because you're affirming the only reality that exists, consciousness. And consciousness, lived faithfully and persistently, must manifest in the physical world. It has no choice. It is law. Stop looking for signs, my friends. Start being the sign. Stop waiting for evidence. Start being the evidence. Stop hoping for manifestation. Start living from the manifestation that has already occurred in the eternal now of consciousness. Your desire is not coming to you. You are finally accepting your desire. And the moment you stop looking for it out there and start living from it in here, in consciousness, that's the moment it will surround you everywhere. The power is yours. The choice is yours. The manifestation is yours. It always has been. You're just learning to stop looking for what you already have and start living from what you already are. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to reveal the single most destructive assumption that ruins more manifestations than any other. Tonight I am going to expose the hidden belief that keeps your desires forever out of reach, even when you think you are doing everything right. This assumption hides in the shadows of your consciousness. You may not even know you hold it, but it is there, quietly sabotaging every technique you practice, every visualization you perform, every affirmation you speak. What is this hidden assumption? It is the belief that your desire is too good to be true. Tonight you will learn how this insidious belief operates. You will learn how to recognize it in yourself. And most importantly, you will learn how to eliminate it completely and replace it with the assumption that allows your desires to manifest effortlessly. Are you ready to destroy the belief that has been destroying your manifestations? Then let us begin. Let me show you how this assumption reveals itself. You desire something wonderful: wealth, love, health, success, freedom. You begin to imagine it. You feel into it. You start to assume you have it. And then quietly, subtly, almost imperceptibly, a thought whispers, "This is too good to be true." Maybe you do not think those exact words. Maybe the thought comes disguised. "This seems impossible for someone like me. Things like this don't happen to people like me. This is too much to ask for. I don't deserve something this good. Life doesn't work this way. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is." These are all variations of the same poisonous assumption. Your desire is too good to be true. It is too wonderful, too perfect, too extraordinary to be real, and therefore it cannot be yours. This belief is deadly. Why? Because it is an assumption. And all assumptions harden into facts. When you assume something is too good to be true, you are assuming it is not true. You are dwelling in the state of "this is impossible for me." You are occupying the consciousness of limitation, unworthiness, and disbelief. And consciousness creates from the state you occupy. If you dwell in "too good to be true," consciousness creates circumstances that confirm your assumption. Your desire remains forever out of reach, not because it is actually impossible, but because you assumed it was impossible. Let me show you how this destructive assumption gets installed in your consciousness. From childhood, you were taught that life is hard, that good things are rare, that you must struggle and sacrifice to get anything of value, that if something seems too easy or too wonderful, there must be a catch. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. How many times have you heard this? How many times have you repeated it yourself? This saying seems like practical wisdom. It seems like it is protecting you from disappointment, from being fooled, from setting yourself up for failure. But what it actually does is program your consciousness to reject anything wonderful. It teaches you to distrust good fortune. It trains you to assume that the extraordinary is impossible for you. You were also taught comparison. You looked at others who had what you desired, and you were told, or you told yourself, "That is for them, not for me. They are special. They are lucky. They are different. I am ordinary. I am unlucky. I am not worthy of such things." And through years of repetition, through countless moments of doubt and self-limitation, this assumption became embedded in your consciousness. Good things are for other people. Extraordinary things are too good to be true for me. Now, whenever you try to manifest something wonderful, this hidden assumption activates. It whispers its poison. It sabotages your techniques. It keeps you in the state of lack even while you are trying to assume abundance. Let me show you exactly how this belief destroys your manifestations. You practice the techniques perfectly. You visualize your desire. You feel yourself living in your wish fulfilled. For 20 minutes, you are in the most beautiful state of consciousness. You feel wealthy, loved, successful, free. Then you open your eyes. You return to your daily life. And immediately that whisper comes. "That was nice, but it is too good to be true. That level of abundance doesn't happen to people like me. I was just fantasizing." In that moment, you have undone your entire practice. You have collapsed back into the state of lack. You have affirmed that your desire is impossible. You have chosen the assumption of limitation over the assumption of fulfillment. Or perhaps you practice your assumption during the day. You think from the state of having your desire, you affirm I am wealthy, or I am loved, or I am successful. But underneath, hidden beneath the surface is the contradictory belief. But this is too good to be true for me. Your conscious mind says I am wealthy. Your subconscious whispers, but not really. This is too good to be true. And which assumption wins? The deeper one, the hidden one, the one you truly believe in your subconscious. This is why people can practice techniques for years without results. They are assuming their desire on the surface, while simultaneously assuming it is impossible beneath the surface. The hidden assumption of too good to be true is stronger than the conscious assumption of fulfillment. Here is the terrible irony. When you assume something is too good to be true, you make it too good to be true. Not because it actually is impossible, but because your assumption creates impossibility. Let me explain. In consciousness, there is no such thing as too good to be true. There are only assumptions, and assumptions become facts. If you assume you can have something, you can have it. If you assume you cannot have something, you cannot have it. The universe does not judge whether your desire is too good. It simply manifests your assumptions. So when you assume your desire is too good to be true, the universe says, okay, it is too good to be true for you, and creates circumstances that match your assumption. But here is what you must understand. That same desire is not too good to be true for someone else who does not hold that limiting assumption. Why do some people manifest extraordinary wealth while others struggle in poverty? Same universe, same laws, same possibilities. The difference is assumption. The wealthy person does not assume wealth is too good to be true. They assume wealth is natural, normal, expected for them. Why do some people effortlessly attract love while others remain lonely? The difference is assumption. The loved person does not assume love is too good to be true. They assume love is their natural state. Your desires are not too good to be true. But if you assume they are, they become too good to be true for you. And that is the tragedy. Let me give you a simple test to see if this hidden assumption is sabotaging your manifestations. Think about your desire right now. Picture it clearly. See yourself having it, living it, being it. Now notice, what is the very first feeling that arises? Is it peace, satisfaction, natural acceptance, or is it a slight discomfort, a whisper of this is too much, a feeling of this is not really for me? If you feel any resistance, any sense that your desire is somehow beyond you, too extraordinary for you, not meant for you, you are holding the too good to be true assumption. Here's another test. Imagine someone else having your exact desire. Picture them living in abundance, being loved, experiencing perfect health, enjoying complete success. Now notice, do you feel that is natural and acceptable for them, or do you think, well, they are different? They are special. They are worthy. But I am not. If you can easily imagine others having what you desire, but you struggle to imagine yourself having it, you are holding the limiting assumption. One more test. Complete this sentence honestly. My desire is wonderful, but whatever comes after but is your hidden sabotaging assumption. My desire is wonderful, but it is too much to ask for. My desire is wonderful, but people like me don't get things like this. My desire is wonderful, but I don't deserve it. My desire is wonderful, but it is not realistic. That but reveals the poison. That but is the assumption that sabotages everything. Now let me give you the truth that destroys this limiting belief. Nothing is too good to be true. Nothing. In consciousness, in the infinite field of possibility, in the dimension where all creation happens, there is no such thing as too good. Wealth is not too good. Love is not too good. Health is not too good. Success is not too good. Perfect happiness is not too good. Complete freedom is not too good. These are all simply states of consciousness, and all states of consciousness are equally available to you. None is more real or more possible than another. None is too good for you. Think about this. You exist. You are consciousness. You are the operant power in your world. You create your reality through your assumptions. Is there a limit on what consciousness can create? Is there a ceiling on what assumptions can manifest? Is there a point where something becomes too good for consciousness to produce? No. Consciousness is infinite. Consciousness is unlimited. Consciousness is God. And to God, nothing is too good to be true. You are not asking for something outside the realm of possibility. You are not trying to create something too wonderful for existence. You are simply choosing which of the infinite possibilities to experience. And all possibilities, from poverty to wealth, from loneliness to love, from sickness to health, are equally possible. None is too good. None is beyond you. Now let me teach you how to completely eliminate this sabotaging assumption and replace it with the truth. Step 1. Expose it. The first step is bringing the hidden assumption into the light. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Say out loud, I have been assuming my desire is too good to be true. I have been believing that this level of goodness is not possible for me. I see this belief now, and I recognize it is just an assumption, not truth, just assumption. Do not judge yourself for holding this belief. Do not feel shame or guilt. Simply observe it with clarity. Ah, there it is. That is the assumption that has been sabotaging me. Step 2. Recognize it as learned, not truth. Remind yourself this belief that my desire is too good to be true is not reality. It is something I learned. It was programmed into me by society, by authority figures, by past experiences, but it is not truth. It is just an assumption I adopted. This is crucial. When you realize this belief is learned, you realize it can be unlearned. It is not an eternal truth. It is not a law of the universe. It is just a thought pattern you picked up and you can put it down. Step 3. Declare the opposite. Now, consciously choose a new assumption to replace the old one. Say with absolute conviction, nothing is too good to be true for me. I am consciousness. I am the operant power. All states are equally available to me. My desire is not too good. It is perfectly natural for me to have it. Repeat this. Say it morning and evening. Say it whenever the old assumption tries to return. You are reprogramming your consciousness with a new truth. Step 4. Find evidence in imagination. Your subconscious believes what it experiences. So give it experiences of your desire being true. Every night, imagine yourself having your desire. But as you imagine, notice the feeling that arises. If you feel this is too good, stop and correct it. Say to yourself, this is not too good. This is exactly right for me. This is natural. This is true for me in consciousness. Then return to the imaginal act with this corrected assumption. Feel your desire as natural, normal, completely appropriate for you. The more you experience your desire in imagination without the too good resistance, the more your subconscious accepts it as possible and natural. Step 5. Affirm your worthiness. Often too good to be true is really too good for me. It is a worthiness issue disguised as a reality issue. So address it directly. I am worthy of all good things. I am deserving of extraordinary blessings. I am consciousness itself. And consciousness has no limit on what it can create for itself. I am worthy because I am. This is not arrogance. This is recognition of your true nature. You are not a limited human begging for scraps. You are infinite consciousness. And infinite consciousness is worthy of infinite good. Step 6. Practice with small things first. If your desire feels too overwhelming, if the too good feeling is too strong, start smaller. Assume something wonderful but less overwhelming. Experience it manifesting. Let your consciousness see, oh, good things can happen for me. This is possible. Then gradually expand. Assume bigger and bigger desires. Train your consciousness to accept that nothing is too good for you. Step 7. Revise past rejections. Think back to times when you rejected good things because they seemed too good to be true. Maybe someone complimented you and you dismissed it. Maybe an opportunity appeared and you doubted it. Maybe you felt unworthy of love, wealth, or success and pushed it away. Revise these moments. Replay them in imagination, but this time you accept the good, you believe the compliment, you trust the opportunity. You know you are worthy. This revision rewrites your history and dissolves the pattern of rejecting good. Now let me give you the assumption that replaces too good to be true. Your new assumption is this. This desire is not too good to be true. This desire was made for me. It is perfectly designed for me. It is exactly right for me, and I am exactly right for it. Feel the difference in this assumption. Not maybe I can have it if I am lucky. Not this is too good but I will try anyway. But this is mine. It was made for me. Of course I have it. This is the assumption of natural possession. Not grasping, not hoping, but knowing. This is mine because it is made for me. When you hold this assumption, the resistance dissolves. The too good feeling disappears. You simply accept your desire the way you accept your own name as natural, obvious, completely appropriate. Let me address another aspect of this belief. Many people assume that if something is good, it must be hard to get. If it comes easily, it must not be valuable. This is another variation of too good to be true. It says good things require struggle. If my desire manifests easily, it is too good to be true. But this is backwards. Consciousness does not require struggle. Consciousness creates effortlessly. Think about how easily you create negative things. You assume something bad will happen and it manifests quickly with no effort. You worry and circumstances arise to match your worry. This happens easily, naturally, automatically. So why would positive things be any different? Why would wealth, love, health, and success require more effort than poverty, loneliness, sickness, and failure? They do not. All creation happens through assumption. An assumption is effortless. You either assume something or you do not. There is no struggle required. When your desire manifests easily, it is not too good to be true. It is consciousness operating as consciousness always operates, effortlessly creating what you assume. Let me tell you about a man who finally broke through this limiting belief. He desired significant wealth. He practiced techniques for 2 years. He visualized, he affirmed, he did sats nightly, but nothing happened. He came to me frustrated. I am doing everything you teach, he said. Why is this not working? I asked him to imagine his desire. I told him to picture himself wealthy, living in abundance, completely free financially. He closed his eyes. He visualized. After a moment I said, now what are you feeling? He opened his eyes. I feel uncomfortable. It feels too big, too much. Like I am imagining someone else's life, not mine. Ah, I said. There it is. You assume wealth is too good to be true for you. Every time you practice your techniques, this assumption undermines them. He was shocked. He had not realized. This belief was operating beneath his conscious practice. I taught him what I am teaching you tonight. I showed him how to expose the belief, challenge it and replace it. Every night he practiced imagining wealth. But now whenever the too good feeling arose, he stopped and said, no, this is not too good. This is exactly right for me. Wealth is natural for me. I am worthy of this. This is mine. He persisted in this for 3 weeks, and something shifted. The resistance dissolved. Wealth stopped feeling too big, too much, too good. It started feeling natural. 1 month later, an unexpected opportunity appeared. A business idea that had been sitting dormant suddenly found investors. Within 6 months, he had the financial abundance he had been desiring for years. And when I asked him what changed, he said, I stopped believing my desire was too good to be true. I started knowing it was exactly right for me. And once I made that shift internally, everything shifted externally. Let me show you how to recognize when this assumption is active so you can catch it and correct it immediately. Sign number 1. You discount compliments or good fortune. Someone tells you you are talented, beautiful, brilliant. You immediately think they are just being nice or they don't really mean it. This is the too good to be true assumption. You cannot accept something good about yourself because you assume good things are not really true for you. Sign number 2. You feel uncomfortable imagining your desire fulfilled. When you visualize your desire, you feel awkward, silly, or like you are pretending. This is the assumption that your desire is too extraordinary for you. Sign number 3. You immediately think of reasons why it will not work. You imagine your desire, and your mind immediately jumps to all the obstacles, all the reasons it is impossible, all the ways it could fail. This is too good to be true, disguised as realism. You are rejecting your desire before you even give it a chance. Sign number 4. You can accept it for others, but not yourself. You see someone living your desired life, and you think good for them. But you do not think that is available for me too. This is the assumption that good things are for other people, not for you. Sign number 5. You qualify your desire with but. I would love to be wealthy, but I desire this relationship, but I want perfect health, but every but is the too good to be true assumption undermining your desire. Catch these patterns. The moment you notice them, stop and correct. No, this is true for me. This is possible for me. This is mine. Here is the ultimate truth about too good to be true. The phrase itself is meaningless in consciousness. Good is subjective. What you call good, consciousness calls a state. What you call too good, consciousness calls another state. Consciousness does not evaluate whether something is too good. Consciousness simply creates whatever state you assume. If you assume a state you call too good, consciousness creates it, just as easily as it creates a state you call acceptable or realistic. The only thing preventing you from experiencing extraordinary good is your assumption that it is too extraordinary for you. Remove that assumption, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing, standing between you and your desire. Let me give you a declaration to repeat daily. Until this new assumption is deeply rooted, nothing is too good to be true for me. I am consciousness, and consciousness has no limits. All states are equally available to me. My desires are not too much, too big, or too extraordinary. They are perfectly natural for me to experience. I am worthy of infinite good because I am infinite consciousness. I now accept all the wonderful things that are mine. They are not too good to be true. They are exactly right for me. Say this every morning when you wake. Say it every night before sleep. Say it whenever the old assumption tries to return. You are reprogramming your consciousness. You are installing a new truth that allows your desires to manifest effortlessly. Tonight, before you fall asleep, I want you to do something specific. Imagine your desire fulfilled. See yourself having it, living it, being it. Make it vivid and real. Now, notice if the too good to be true feeling arises. If it does, stop immediately. Say firmly, this is not too good to be true. This is natural for me. This is mine. I accept this as my reality. Then return to your imaginal act with this corrected assumption. Feel your desire as natural, obvious, completely appropriate for you. Fall asleep in this state. Not hoping it might be true, but knowing it is true. Not wishing it could be yours, but accepting it already is yours. Do this every night, and throughout your day catch every thought that suggests your desire is too good for you. Correct it immediately. Replace it with the truth. The only thing that makes something too good to be true is your assumption that it is too good to be true. Remove that assumption and you remove the limitation. Your desires are not too good. They are not too extraordinary. They are not beyond you. They are perfectly natural states of consciousness. And you are consciousness, therefore they are yours for the assuming. Stop sabotaging yourself with this hidden belief. Expose it, challenge it. Replace it, and watch as the desires you thought were too good to be true become your everyday reality, because they were never too good. They were always yours. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video.
I want to start with a truth that changed everything for me. Becoming a millionaire isn't about accumulating money. It's about the complete transformation of who you are as a person. When I first understood this concept, it shook me to my core. I realized I had been approaching wealth entirely wrong, focusing on tactics and strategies when the real work was internal. The person I was 5 years ago could never have handled the success I have today. That person lacked the character, discipline, and mindset required to not just earn wealth, but to keep it and multiply it. This is why lottery winners often go broke. They receive the money without becoming the person capable of managing it. Today, I'm going to share with you the complete blueprint for this transformation. This isn't just about money. This is about becoming the version of yourself that you've always known was possible, but perhaps never knew how to access. Let me be brutally honest with you. To become wealthy, you must develop character beyond 99% of the population. If everyone had millionaire-level discipline, honesty, and work ethic, everyone would be a millionaire. The fact that so few achieve significant wealth tells us everything we need to know about what it requires. I had to develop an unshakable level of honesty, not just with others, but with myself. I had to stop making excuses, stop blaming circumstances, and take full responsibility for every aspect of my life. This was terrifying at first, because it meant admitting that my lack of success was nobody's fault but my own. But it was also liberating because it meant I had the power to change everything. Discipline became my superpower. Not the kind of discipline that feels like punishment, but the kind that feels like self-respect. I learned to do what I said I would do, when I said I would do it, regardless of how I felt in the moment. This simple shift, keeping promises to myself, built an unbreakable foundation of self-trust. Quality relationships became non-negotiable. I realized that your network truly is your net worth, but not in the superficial way most people think. It's not about using people. It's about surrounding yourself with individuals who challenge you to grow, who hold higher standards, and who refuse to let you settle for mediocrity. The willingness to work became sacred to me. But here's what most people miss. Wealthy people don't work harder at jobs they hate. They work obsessively on things they're passionate about. They've aligned their work with their purpose, so effort doesn't feel like effort. It feels like play, like expression, like coming alive. Here's where everything clicked for me. I started walking, talking, acting, and looking like the person I wanted to become before I had achieved any external success. This wasn't pretending or being fake. This was intentional identity shifting. Your brain is constantly looking for evidence of who you are. When you consistently act like a successful person, your brain starts to accept this new identity as truth. It begins to filter opportunities differently, notice different details in your environment, and make decisions from this elevated perspective. I remember the first time I bought a tailored suit, really invested in high-quality clothing that made me feel proud and confident. The change wasn't just external. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone who belonged in boardrooms, someone who commanded respect, someone who was going places. That internal shift preceded every external change that followed. But here's what most people get wrong. They're so concerned with what others will think that they never give themselves permission to step into their power. We're programmed from childhood to worry about others' opinions. What will the neighbors think? What will people say? I discovered something liberating. They're not thinking about you nearly as much as you imagine. Most people are so consumed with their own lives, their own insecurities, and their own challenges, that they barely have time to judge yours. And even if they do judge, so what? Their opinion of you is none of your business and has no power over your destiny, unless you give it that power. The fastest way to become the person you want to be is to start embodying that person immediately. Start dressing like them, reading what they read, going where they go, thinking how they think. This isn't about spending money you don't have. It's about raising your standards and expanding your identity. I got really interested in the science behind manifestation and visualization. Let me share how I think about manifestation, because there's a lot of confusion around this concept. Manifestation isn't magic. It's applied psychology and neuroscience. Think of it as building a bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. Each visualization session, each mental rehearsal, each moment of feeling your desired future is like laying another brick in that bridge. When I visualize, I don't just daydream. I create incredibly detailed mental movies of my desired future. I see the colors, hear the sounds, feel the emotions, even imagine the smells. The more vivid and detailed these mental rehearsals become, the more real they feel to my nervous system. Here's the science. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly visualize success, your brain creates neural pathways as if those experiences actually happened. You're literally rewiring your brain for success. But visualization without action is just fantasy. The key is to use visualization to prime your nervous system, then take inspired action in the direction of your goals. The visualization gives you clarity on where you're going. The action gets you there. I learned to visualize not just the end result, but the process. I would see myself making the difficult decisions, having the challenging conversations, doing the work that others wouldn't do. This prepared me mentally for the actual challenges I would face, making them feel familiar rather than overwhelming when they arrive. You will need to break free from limiting beliefs. The biggest obstacles to your success aren't external. They're the limiting beliefs running in the background of your mind, like malicious software. These beliefs were often installed in childhood by well-meaning parents, teachers, and society, but they're absolutely devastating to adult success. I had to confront beliefs like money is the root of all evil, rich people are greedy, I don't deserve success, and people like me don't become wealthy. Each of these beliefs was creating resistance to the very thing I claimed to want. The process of changing these beliefs isn't just intellectual, it's emotional and experiential. You have to catch yourself in the moment when these beliefs arise and consciously choose a different thought. You have to flood your mind with new evidence that contradicts the old programming. I started studying successful people obsessively, not just their strategies, but their mindsets, their daily habits, their ways of thinking about problems and opportunity. I realized that wealthy people literally think differently about everything: time, money, relationships, failure, success, risk, and opportunity. Poor people think there's a limited amount of money in the world and that someone else's success means less opportunity for them. Rich people understand that money is constantly being created and that other people's success often creates more opportunities for everyone. Poor people focus on what they might lose. Rich people focus on what they might gain. Poor people ask, what if it doesn't work? Rich people ask, what if it does work? These seem like small differences, but they create completely different realities. One of the most powerful shifts I made was starting to live like a millionaire on my way to becoming one. This doesn't mean spending money you don't have. It means raising your standards and expectations for how you experience life. I remember the first time I upgraded to first class on a flight. The difference wasn't just in the seat width or the free drinks. It was in how I felt about myself. I felt like someone who belonged in first class, someone who deserved that level of service and comfort. That internal shift was worth far more than the upgrade fee. After experiencing first class once, it became very difficult to walk past those seats to economy. My mind started automatically thinking of ways to earn enough to fly first class regularly. This is how raising your standards works. It creates internal pressure to rise to meet them. I started shopping at higher-end stores, not to show off but to surround myself with quality and to feel what it was like to have choices. I began eating at better restaurants, staying at nicer hotels when I traveled, and investing in experiences that my future wealthy self would enjoy. Each of these decisions was an investment in my identity and self-worth. I was training my nervous system to feel comfortable with wealth and luxury, so when real wealth came, it would feel natural rather than foreign. I've identified several attitudes that absolutely destroy your chances of success. I call them diseases because they spread through your mind like infections, weakening your resolve and clouding your judgment. Indifference is the most dangerous. This is the person who says, I can't see getting all worked up about anything. Success requires passion, excitement, and emotional investment. You must care deeply about your goals, not approach them with casual interest. Drift is equally lethal. You cannot drift to the top of any mountain. Success requires deliberate direction and sustained effort. Too many people are waiting for life to happen to them instead of making deliberate choices about their direction. Here's something crucial. It's better to pick the wrong direction and discover that quickly than to spend years wandering without any direction at all. If you pick a direction and move decisively, you'll know within months whether it's working. If it's not, you can pivot and try something else. But if you never pick a direction, you'll spend decades going nowhere. Procrastination disguised as perfectionism kills more dreams than any external obstacle. People say they're waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, the perfect plan, but perfection is the enemy of progress. You cannot perfect something without doing it first. Negative self-talk creates a toxic internal environment where success cannot grow. If you constantly tell yourself why you can't succeed, your brain will find evidence to support that belief. You must become the guardian of your own mind, carefully monitoring and redirecting negative thought patterns. One of the most transformative skills I developed was learning how to ask effectively. Most people fail in life simply because they never ask for what they want. They assume they don't deserve it, that others will think they're being presumptuous, or that asking somehow makes them weak. The truth is the opposite. Asking is one of the most powerful tools for success. But there's an art to it. You can't just mumble vague requests and hope for the best. You must ask with clarity, specificity, and confidence. When I ask for something, whether it's a business deal, a favor, or an opportunity, I'm crystal clear about what I want. I explain why it would be mutually beneficial, and I make it easy for the other person to say yes. I've learned that most people actually want to help, but they need to understand exactly what you need from them. I keep a written list of everything I want to achieve, and I review it daily. This isn't just goal setting, it's programming my subconscious mind to recognize opportunities and solutions. The universe, call it God, call it the field of infinite possibility, call it whatever resonates with you, is constantly responding to your thoughts and energy. But you have to be specific in your requests. Vague desires produce vague results. Specific requests produce specific outcomes. I learned to ask not just for the end result, but for the wisdom, strength, and opportunities needed to achieve it. I ask for the right mentors to appear in my life, for the perfect team members to support my vision, for the ideal circumstances to accelerate my progress. Another crucial thing. Everything changed when I stopped thinking of money as a scarce resource and started understanding it as flowing energy. Money is constantly moving, constantly being created, constantly seeking places where it can grow and multiply. Broke people think there's a fixed amount of money in the world, and someone else's wealth means less for them. This scarcity mindset creates resistance to money and blocks its flow into their lives. Rich people understand that money is renewable, that it can be created infinitely, and that helping others succeed often creates more wealth for everyone. I realize that money is attracted to value creation. The more problems you solve, the more value you provide, the more money flows toward you. This shifted my focus from how can I get money to how can I serve more people at a higher level. This understanding liberated me from the employee mindset, trading time for money in a linear fashion. Instead, I started thinking about how to create systems, products, and services that could serve many people simultaneously, creating multiple streams of income that could grow exponentially. I also learned that money has its own psychology. It flows toward people who respect it, understand it, and know how to steward it wisely. If you have negative associations with money, thinking it's evil, that rich people are bad, or that you don't deserve it, money will avoid you. I had to heal my relationship with money by understanding that it's simply a tool for creating positive impact. Money amplifies who you already are. If you're generous, money makes you more generous. If you're selfish, money makes you more selfish. The key is to become the kind of person who deserves wealth by developing character first. The universe always says yes. This might be the most important concept I can share with you. The universe is always saying yes to whatever you're truly believing and feeling. The challenge is that most people don't realize what they're actually asking for. When you say, I want more money but feel lack, scarcity, and desperation, the universe says yes to those feelings. You continue experiencing lack because that's what you're energetically requesting. The universe responds to your emotional state, not just your words. But when you feel abundant, when you embody gratitude, when you operate from a place of having rather than wanting, the universe says yes to that energy. You start attracting abundance because you're no longer separate from it. This is why visualization and emotional rehearsal are so powerful. When you vividly imagine having what you want and genuinely feel the emotions of that reality, you're no longer asking from a place of lack. You're affirming from a place of having. I learned to feel grateful for my success before it manifested physically. I would wake up each morning and spend time feeling thankful for the wealth, health, and relationships I was creating. This wasn't positive thinking. It was emotional preparation for the reality I was building. The key insight is that everything starts in consciousness first, then manifests in physical reality. If you're constantly focused on what you don't have, what's wrong, what you're lacking, that's what continues to expand in your experience. In our distracted world, the ability to focus has become a superpower. Where your attention goes, energy flows. Where energy flows, results show. It's that simple and that profound. I made a decision to stop consuming other people's drama, stories, and problems. I don't scroll through social media comparing myself to others. I don't watch the news filling my mind with fear and negativity. I don't gossip or engage in conversations that drain my energy. Instead, I focus obsessively on my goals, my growth, and my contribution. I read books that expand my thinking. I listen to podcasts that challenge me to think bigger. I surround myself with people who are building something meaningful. This level of focus requires saying no to most things so you can say yes to the most important things. It means being ruthless about protecting your mental environment from anything that doesn't serve your highest vision. I realize that successful people are not necessarily smarter or more talented. They're simply more focused. They choose one direction and pour all their energy into it until they succeed. They resist the temptation to chase every new opportunity or trend. Focus also means being present with whatever you're doing in the moment. When I'm working, I'm fully engaged. When I'm with family, I'm completely there. This quality of attention multiplies the effectiveness of everything you do. Success isn't about occasional massive efforts. It's about small, consistent actions taken daily over extended periods. I learned that what you do consistently matters more than what you do occasionally. My daily routine became sacred. I wake up early, before the world starts making demands on my attention. I spend time in meditation or prayer, connecting with my deeper purpose. I exercise, taking care of the body that carries me through my mission. I review my goals, visualize my success, and plan my day strategically. But here's what most people miss about discipline. It's not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. True discipline comes from aligning your daily actions with your deepest values and most compelling vision. When you're crystal clear on why you're doing something, the how becomes much easier. I work long hours most days, but it doesn't feel like work because I'm obsessed with what I'm building. I'm not trying to achieve work-life balance. I'm trying to create a life where my work is an expression of who I am and what I value most. This level of commitment is not for everyone, and that's exactly why it works. While others are looking for shortcuts, I'm putting in the hours. While others are seeking comfort, I'm embracing challenge. While others are making excuses, I'm making progress. The compound effect of daily discipline is extraordinary. Small improvements compound over time into massive results. Reading for 30 minutes daily doesn't seem like much, but over a year it's dozens of books and thousands of new ideas. Working out for 45 minutes daily doesn't transform you overnight, but over months, it completely changes your health and energy. Rewriting your own story is also important. Everyone has a story about why they can't succeed. Maybe it's their childhood, their education, their circumstances, their age, their connections, or their resources. These stories feel true because they're based on real experiences, but they're also the biggest obstacles to your success. I had my own collection of limiting stories. I told myself I wasn't smart enough, didn't have the right connections, came from the wrong background, started too late. Each story felt justified and reasonable, but they were also keeping me exactly where I was. The breakthrough came when I realized that I still held the pen. My past was written, but my future was blank pages waiting to be filled. I could choose to continue the same story or begin writing a completely new chapter. This meant taking full responsibility for everything in my life, not just the good parts, but the challenging parts too. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? I started asking, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become stronger? What opportunities might this create? Rewriting your story isn't about denying your past or pretending difficulties didn't happen. It's about choosing what those experiences mean and how they'll influence your future. Every challenge can become a source of strength. Every failure can become a learning experience. Every setback can become a setup for a comeback. I started telling myself a new story. I am someone who finds a way to win no matter what. I am someone who turns obstacles into opportunity. I am someone who gets stronger through challenges. This new narrative changed everything about how I approached problems and setbacks. Now I want to talk to you about the power of association. You become who you spend time with. This isn't just a nice saying, it's a psychological reality. Your brain is constantly mirroring the people around you, absorbing their attitudes, beliefs, language patterns, and expectations. I had to make some difficult decisions about relationships. I love my family and old friends, but I realized that some of them were unintentionally holding me back. They weren't bad people, but they had different priorities and different beliefs about what was possible. I started deliberately seeking out people who thought bigger than I did, who had achieved things I wanted to achieve, who challenged me to raise my standards. This meant joining different groups, attending different events, reading different books, and sometimes having uncomfortable conversations. The shift was dramatic. Instead of conversations about why things wouldn't work, I found myself in discussions about how to make things work. Instead of focusing on limitations, we talked about possibilities. Instead of complaining about problems, we brainstormed solutions. I learned that successful people are incredibly generous with their knowledge and support, but you have to earn access to them by demonstrating that you're serious about your own growth. They don't have time for people who just want to dream. They connect with people who are taking action. This doesn't mean abandoning everyone from your past, but it does mean being strategic about who gets your time and energy. You have to protect your mental environment like a precious resource, because it determines the quality of your thoughts and decisions. All the mindset work in the world means nothing without inspired action. I learned that successful people aren't necessarily the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who take action consistently while others are still planning, thinking, and preparing. I developed what I call bias toward action. When I get an idea or see an opportunity, I act on it immediately rather than analyzing it to death. I would rather take imperfect action and learn from the results than wait for perfect conditions that never come. This meant getting comfortable with failure and mistakes. I realized that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of success. Every failure teaches you something valuable that you can't learn any other way. The key is to fail fast, learn quickly, and apply those lessons to your next attempt. I started tracking my action taking, not just my results. I measured how many calls I made, how many people I reached out to, how many new things I tried. This kept me focused on the activities that create results rather than just hoping for results to magically appear. Taking action also means being willing to do things that others won't do. While they're comfortable, I'm stretching myself. While they're playing it safe, I'm taking calculated risks. While they're following the crowd, I'm creating my own path. The compound effect of consistent action is incredible. Small actions taken daily over time create extraordinary results. But you have to be patient with the process while being urgent with individual action. Become obsessed with your vision. Success requires a level of focus and commitment that most people would consider obsessive. I'm not talking about unhealthy obsession, but passionate dedication to something meaningful that extends beyond yourself. I had to find my deeper why, the reason that would sustain me through challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. For me, it became about creating financial freedom, not just for myself, but to serve as an example of what's possible, and to create resources that could impact other people's lives. When your mission is bigger than yourself, you tap into energy reserves you didn't know existed. You find yourself working longer, thinking clearer, and persisting through obstacles that would stop others. This isn't willpower. It's inspiration in action. I became obsessed with mastery in my chosen field. I studied everything I could find, learned from every expert I could access, and practiced relentlessly. This wasn't just about getting good enough, it was about becoming extraordinary. Obsession also means saying no to everything that doesn't serve your mission. It means being disciplined about your time, energy, and attention. It means making sacrifices that others aren't willing to make because you can see rewards that others can't imagine. This level of commitment naturally separates you from the crowd. While others are dabbling in many things, you're going deep in one thing. While others are distracted by every new trend, you're building something substantial and lasting. Your destiny awaits. You have a choice to make right now. You can continue living the same patterns, thinking the same thoughts, and getting the same results. Or you can decide that today marks the beginning of your transformation into the person you've always known you could become. The path isn't easy, but it's simple. Start acting like your future self today. Focus obsessively on your goals. Take massive action despite your fears. Surround yourself with people who think bigger than you do. Rewrite the story you tell yourself about what's possible. Remember, you were born to win, engineered for success, and designed for accomplishment. The seeds of greatness are already within you. Your job isn't to plant them. It's to water them with consistent action, nourish them with empowering beliefs, and protect them from the weeds of doubt and distraction. Your destiny is not a destination, it's a decision. The decision to become who you're meant to be, starting right now, exactly where you are, with exactly what you have. The universe is waiting to say yes to your biggest dreams. The question isn't whether you're capable of achieving them, it's whether you're willing to become the person who deserves them. Your transformation starts now. Your success story begins today. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make in this moment. Choose greatness. Choose growth. Choose to become the millionaire you were born to be. The time is now. Your moment has arrived.
What if I told you that every word you've ever spoken has been quietly programming your reality? What if the reason your life looks the way it does right now isn't because of what happened to you, but because of what you've been declaring about yourself in the silence? You were never meant to beg the universe for scraps. You were never meant to whisper affirmations like prayers to a distant god. You were born with the same creative force that carved galaxies into existence. The same voice that once declared, "Let there be light," now speaks through you. But here's what they don't want you to know. You've been using this power backwards. You've been declaring your limitations instead of your liberation. You've been commanding your fears instead of your freedom. And the universe, being the perfect mirror it is, has been faithfully delivering exactly what you've been ordering. Every time you say "I am," you are not describing your life. You are directing it. This is not positive thinking. This is positional identity. This is about stepping back into the authorship you abandoned the day you started believing other people's stories about who you were supposed to be. Before the world was shaped by hands, it was shaped by voice. Before creation took form, a declaration was made, "Let there be." And there was. In the beginning was the Word, not a sound, but a force. Not a phrase, but a frequency, a vibration so pure that it carved galaxies into the void. And that same creative force now lives within you. Every time you say "I am," you are instructing your cells, your brain, your spirit, and the quantum field around you to shape themselves into the image of your words. This is the power that moved mountains in Scripture, the principle behind miracles, the voice that made worlds and still does. I need you to understand something that will shatter everything you think you know about creating change in your life. There is a moment before creation, a pause before the visible. And in that pause, a voice rises, not from your throat, but from your identity. From a knowing so deep it needs no proof, no permission, no validation from the outside world. It simply declares, "This is who I am." And reality has no choice but to respond. You think you were born into stillness. You were born into sound, heartbeat, cry, breath, word. Creation doesn't begin with effort. It begins with frequency, with the courage to speak your truth before the world agrees with it. Every reality begins with a word. In Genesis, the Creator doesn't build with hands. He says, "Let there be," and light obeys. Physics now tells us the same truth. All matter arises from energy, and energy responds to observation and vibration. So when you say "I am ready," "I am whole," it is done. You're not hoping. You're instructing. You're not becoming. You're revealing. Here's the science they don't teach you in school. Your brain is not a passive organ waiting for life to happen to it. It is an architect, constantly building your reality according to the blueprints you give it through your words. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. Your brain wires itself according to repeated thoughts, declarations, and beliefs. Every time you say "I am," you lay down a new layer of identity in your nervous system. Say "I am overwhelmed," and the stress circuits deepen. Say "I am learning," and curiosity pathways awaken. Say "I am capable," and your prefrontal cortex begins mapping new behavior. The body doesn't wait for proof. It responds to instruction. In 2014, stroke patients who repeated empowering identity statements like "I am healing," "I am getting stronger," showed faster neurological recovery than those who simply focused on physical tasks. Their inner language restructured their outer healing. Not because the words had magic, because identity shapes biology. But here's where most people get it wrong. You've been declaring all your life. Every day you're already saying, "I'm tired, I never figure things out. This always happens to me." And your subconscious takes it literally. It doesn't question. It doesn't analyze. It simply says, "Got it. You are that. I'll make sure reality reflects it." So the loop begins. A phrase becomes a feeling. A feeling becomes a filter. A filter becomes a world. You think you're describing life, but you're actually designing it. They told you to work harder, hustle, grind, prove yourself worthy. But what they never told you is that reality doesn't respond to effort. It responds to identity in motion. You are not here to earn your future. You are here to declare it. And there is an ancient law backing that declaration, one that operates whether you know it or not. Neville Goddard called it the law of assumption. Modern science calls it neuroplasticity. The mystics called it divine law. But you already know it intuitively. You feel it in your bones when you speak from truth. You feel it when you say I can, and something stirs. You feel it when you say I am, and the universe leans in to respond. What does this mean in the language of modern mind and matter? It means that what you believe to be true about yourself begins to train your nervous system, your perception, and your body to mirror that identity. Your reticular activating system, the brain's filter for attention, looks for proof of your inner assumptions. Say I am unlucky, and the RAS finds every reason to agree. Say I am favored, and the field begins to echo that frequency. You're not observing reality. You're filtering it according to your declarations. A young girl in a disadvantaged school system struggled for years until one teacher told her, "You're a genius. You just haven't been taught like one." That simple declaration, spoken daily, "I am a genius. I just learned differently," rewired her identity. Her test scores improved. But more than that, her self-perception shifted. Today she's an educator herself, helping other kids do the same. What changed? Her belief. What if I told you that every word you've ever spoken has been quietly programming your reality? What if the reason your life looks the way it does right now isn't because of what happened to you, but because of what you've been declaring about yourself in the silence? You were never meant to beg the universe for scraps. You were never meant to whisper affirmations like prayers to a distant god. You were born with the same creative force that carved galaxies into existence. The same voice that once declared, "Let there be light," now speaks through you. But here's what they don't want you to know. You've been using this power backwards. You've been declaring your limitations instead of your liberation. You've been commanding your fears instead of your freedom. And the universe, being the perfect mirror it is, has been faithfully delivering exactly what you've been ordering. Every time you say I am, you are not describing your life. You are directing it. This is not positive thinking. This is positional identity. This is about stepping back into the authorship you abandoned the day you started believing other people's stories about who you were supposed to be. Before the world was shaped by hands, it was shaped by voice. Before creation took form, a declaration was made, "Let there be." And there was. In the beginning was the Word, not a sound, but a force. Not a phrase, but a frequency, a vibration so pure that it carved galaxies into the void. And that same creative force now lives within you. Every time you say I am, you are instructing your cells, your brain, your spirit, and the quantum field around you to shape themselves into the image of your words. This is the power that moved mountains in Scripture, the principle behind miracles, the voice that made worlds and still does. I need you to understand something that will shatter everything you think you know about creating change in your life. There is a moment before creation, a pause before the visible. And in that pause, a voice rises, not from your throat, but from your identity. From a knowing so deep it needs no proof, no permission, no validation from the outside world. It simply declares, "This is who I am." And reality has no choice but to respond. You think you were born into stillness. You were born into sound, heartbeat, cry, breath, word. Creation doesn't begin with effort. It begins with frequency, with the courage to speak your truth before the world agrees with it. Every reality begins with a word. In Genesis, the Creator doesn't build with hands. He says, "Let there be," and light obeys. Physics now tells us the same truth. All matter arises from energy, and energy responds to observation and vibration. So when you say, "I am ready, I am whole," it is done. You're not hoping. You're instructing. You're not becoming. You're revealing. Here's the science they don't teach you in school. Your brain is not a passive organ waiting for life to happen to it. It is an architect, constantly building your reality according to the blueprints you give it through your words. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. Your brain wires itself according to repeated thoughts, declarations, and beliefs. Every time you say "I am," You lay down a new layer of identity in your nervous system. Say, I am overwhelmed, and the stress circuits deepen. Say, I am learning, and curiosity pathways awaken. Say, I am capable, and your prefrontal cortex begins mapping new behavior. The body doesn't wait for proof. It responds to instruction. In 2014, stroke patients who repeated empowering identity statements like I am healing, I am getting stronger, showed faster neurological recovery than those who simply focused on physical tasks. Their inner language restructured their outer healing, not because the words had magic, because identity shapes biology. But here's where most people get it wrong. You've been declaring all your life. Every day you're already saying, I'm tired, I never figure things out. This always happens to me. And your subconscious takes it literally. It doesn't question. It doesn't analyze. It simply says, got it. You are that. I'll make sure reality reflects it. So the loop begins. A phrase becomes a feeling. A feeling becomes a filter. A filter becomes a world. You think you're describing life, but you're actually designing it. They told you to work harder. Hustle, grind, prove yourself worthy. But what they never told you is that reality doesn't respond to effort. It responds to identity in motion. You are not here to earn your future. You are here to declare it. And there is an ancient law backing that declaration, one that operates whether you know it or not. Neville Goddard called it the law of assumption. Modern science calls it neuroplasticity. The mystics called it divine law. But you already know it intuitively. You feel it in your bones when you speak from truth. You feel it when you say I can, and something stirs. You feel it when you say I am, and the universe leans in to respond. What does this mean in the language of modern mind and matter? It means that what you believe to be true about yourself begins to train your nervous system, your perception, and your body to mirror that identity. Your reticular activating system, the brain's filter for attention, looks for proof of your inner assumptions. Say, I am unlucky, and the RAS finds every reason to agree. Say, I am favored, and the field begins to echo that frequency. You're not observing reality. You're filtering it according to your declarations. A young girl in a disadvantaged school system struggled for years until one teacher told her, you're a genius. You just haven't been taught like one. That simple declaration, spoken daily, I am a genius. I just learned differently, rewired her identity. Her test scores improved. But more than that, her self-perception shifted. Today she's an educator herself, helping other kids do the same. What changed? Her belief, her biology, her future, all from a new I am. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You've been performing, not aligning. You repeat, I am confident, while your voice shakes with doubt. You say I am abundant, while your body tenses with fear. The subconscious doesn't listen to your words, it listens to your vibration, to coherence, not cleverness. That's why declarations without feeling are flat. But declarations fused with elevated emotion trigger neurochemical cascades that literally alter your biology. Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it this way. When thought and feeling become one, you move from hope into reality creation. When you declare I am abundant, and actually feel abundant, you release dopamine, the motivational neurotransmitter. When you say I am at peace from genuine stillness, you stimulate oxytocin, calming your nervous system. You're not just affirming, you're literally changing the chemical signature of your state. This is why your life changes not when you do more, but when you speak from who you've become. The universe doesn't need convincing. You don't have to argue with the field. You only have to declare clearly from the inside out. I am already what I seek. I am walking as the version who has it. It is done, not because I forced it, but because I aligned with it. Your voice is not small. It is not mere sound. It is structure. What you speak into the unseen becomes architecture. A scaffold of possibility that the physical world begins to build around. Words are not just air. They are instruction. Each time you speak with conviction, you emit a frequency, and frequency, as both mystics and physicists know, shapes matter. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, is more than scripture. It's science written in sacred language, because in the beginning of any reality, a business, a relationship, a healing, there is always a word, not just spoken aloud, but whispered internally with enough belief to command the field. The quantum field doesn't hear English. It hears coherence. It doesn't wait for results. It responds to vibration. In 1967, Swiss scientist Hans Jenny conducted experiments that stunned the scientific world. Using sound vibrations directed at sand, he watched invisible tones create intricate geometric patterns. The higher the coherence of the tone, the more beautiful and complex the pattern. You are no different. Your internal tone, the energy behind your words, determines what kind of pattern your life forms. Anger scrambles the geometry. Worry distorts it. But declaration spoken from stillness, from power, creates sacred symmetry in your field. Dr. Candace Pert, neuroscientist and pharmacologist, discovered what she called the molecules of emotion. She found that peptides, chemical messengers, triggered by thought and speech, bind to receptors on every cell in your body. In simple terms, what you say, your body hears. Every I am becomes a signal that instructs your biology. Say I am overwhelmed, and cortisol floods your system. Say I am grounded, and parasympathetic signals begin to calm your heart rate. This is not symbolic. This is biochemical manifestation. You are not just thinking. You are programming. You are not just talking. You are transmitting. In quantum physics, particles exist in a cloud of probabilities until observed. This is called the wave function. It means that at every moment, infinite versions of your life exist, each one waiting to be selected. So what selects it? Conscious observation fused with intention. When you say, I am this, you collapse potential into particular. You shift from all that could be into, this is what I've chosen. Your words are the selector switch in a field of infinite outcomes. Consider Anita Morjani, diagnosed with end-stage lymphoma, tumors throughout her body, organs shutting down. Doctors declared the end, but she declared something else, not with logic, but with identity. I am not here to die. I am here to live. She entered a near-death experience where she felt herself as wholeness, not illness. Upon returning, her body began healing rapidly. Within weeks of this declaration, backed by complete inner alignment, her scans shocked her doctors. No trace of cancer remained. Skeptics call it impossible, but her declaration, backed by full coherence of mind, emotion, and soul, became her reality. What you declare, you animate. Declare I am love, and your nervous system begins to soften. Your energy field becomes magnetic. Declare I am abundance, and your perception starts scanning for opportunity. Synchronicity sharpens. Declare I am peace, and the chaos around you starts to lose its grip. You are not waiting for reality to show up so you can name it. You are naming it so it shows up. This is how you shape matter. This is how you bend time, not with effort, but with energetic authorship. Here's where most people fail. They speak powerfully, then walk timidly. They declare abundance and act from fear. They affirm love but move from wounds. The field grows confused. The signal splits. Nothing changes. Declaration is the first step. Embodiment is the second. It is not enough to declare. You must become what you've spoken. Words are seeds, powerful. Yes, but a seed does nothing unless it is watered, nurtured, lived. To become the word you speak is to make your identity louder than your past, louder than your habits, louder than your habits, louder than your history. In psychology, there's a simple truth. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. This is called self-concept congruence. It means your behavior, whether successful or self-sabotaging, mirrors your internal identity more than your external intention. You can want change. You can declare change. But until you become the person who lives in that new world, the old self pulls you back. This is not resistance. It's programming, and it can be rewritten. Research on addiction recovery found a striking difference. When offered a cigarette, those who said, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," had high relapse rates. But those who said, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker," who shifted identity, not just behavior, rarely relapsed. They weren't performing willpower. They were embodying a new version of themselves, because the subconscious doesn't sustain what isn't aligned. Here's where most manifestation practices stop. I am successful. I am loved. I am confident. Beautiful words. But what do your feet say? What does your posture declare? How do your choices speak? Embodiment is not performance. It's not pretending to be something you're not. It's allowing yourself to live as the version you've already declared. Each morning, ask yourself, if I truly believed my declaration, how would I move today? How would I walk if I believed I was magnetic? How would I respond to conflict if I knew I was already safe? What would I say yes or no to if I knew I was already supported? This isn't acting. This is returning to a truer self hidden beneath conditioning. Every action that matches your new identity strengthens neural pathways. This is Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together wire together. Declare I am confident and speak up in the meeting. Your brain logs that as proof. Do it again and the network deepens. Do it daily and it becomes your default. Soon the old identity begins to dissolve. Not through force but through starvation. You've stopped feeding it. Your brain is equipped with mirror neurons, cells that fire both when you act and when you imagine yourself acting. This means when you visualize yourself walking as the new version, your brain responds as if it's already happening. So when you say, I am abundant, and close your eyes to feel the reality of that abundance, you are not fantasizing. You are training your neurology. The body begins to behave like abundance is real, and then reality follows suit. In a longitudinal study on goal setting, participants were asked to write down their ideal future selves. One group wrote once. The other group lived as that version daily, walking, dressing, making choices like their future self already existed. 12 months later, the second group had significantly higher measurable success in income, health, and happiness. Why? Because they weren't trying to get there. They were being there. Your body doesn't care if it's memory or imagination. It becomes whatever you rehearse with feeling. There is a space between the word and the world. It's where most people lose the miracle. You said it, you meant it, you felt it. I am healed, I am abundant, I am ready, and then nothing, no signs, no evidence, just silence. This is the space where dreams die, not because the law failed, but because the voice wavered. But the gap is not punishment. This is not delay, but integration, because every declaration is a seed. And every seed, no matter how divine, needs time to take root. In every mystical tradition, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, Buddhism, there is reverence for the void, that sacred in between, the formless, the field before the form. Creation is not instant. It is gestational. The same applies to your spoken reality. When you say I am, you activate the field. But when you wait in stillness, you allow that field to organize itself around your identity. In neuroscience, change isn't visible the moment it begins. Neural rewiring often happens below conscious awareness. In one UCLA study on habit change, participants showed increased neural activity weeks before they felt their behavior shift. They hadn't noticed anything working. But deep beneath the surface, their brain had already begun its transformation. This is the unseen miracle. Silence does not mean absence. Stillness does not mean stuck. It means integration is underway. The moment doubt creeps in, panic sets in. They redeclare from fear. They push. They try to fix what's already in motion. But this tells the subconscious, I don't believe what I just said. We are not safe to receive. The identity resets. The timeline shifts. The process pauses. Not because it failed, but because you interrupted the signal. Trust is not just spiritual. It's neurological regulation. When you trust your declaration, your nervous system relaxes. Cortisol drops. The parasympathetic system activates, signaling safety. In this state, you become more receptive, more intuitive, more available. The more you hold the vibration of, what if I told you that right now, as you're watching this, you're broadcasting a signal to the universe, not through your words, not through your actions, but through something far more powerful, your state of being. And here's what will shock you. Most people are broadcasting the exact opposite of what they want. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal a secret so simple that your mind will reject it at first. But once you understand it, once you truly get it, your entire reality will shift. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to effortlessly attract what they want while others struggle and strain for years without results? Have you ever wondered why two people with the same knowledge, same circumstances, can have completely different outcomes? The answer will disturb you and liberate you at the same time. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning and discover that your bedroom wall has become a giant mirror. But this isn't an ordinary mirror. It reflects not your physical appearance, but your inner state. What would you see staring back at you? Would you see confidence or doubt, abundance or lack, peace or anxiety, love or loneliness? This isn't just imagination. This is exactly how your world works right now. Your external reality is nothing more than a perfect reflection of your inner state. I call this the fundamental law of consciousness. As within, so without. Every person in your life, every circumstance you encounter, every opportunity that comes or doesn't come, all of it is a mirror reflecting back your dominant state of consciousness. The wealthy person isn't wealthy because they have money. They have money because they embody the state of wealth. The loved person isn't loved because they're special. They're special because they live in the state of being loved. But here's where it gets interesting, and where most people get it completely wrong. They try to change the mirror instead of changing what's being reflected. Let me tell you about Maria, a single mother working 2 jobs just to pay rent. Every morning, she'd look in the mirror and see exhaustion. Every evening, she'd collapse into bed feeling defeated. Her inner state, pure survival mode. Maria lived in constant fear. Fear of not having enough money. Fear of losing her job. Fear of failing her daughter. And guess what her reality reflected back? More reasons to be afraid. Bill collectors calling, car breaking down, getting passed over for promotions. But then something extraordinary happened. Maria discovered what I'm teaching to you too, that imagination is not fantasy, it's the workshop of reality itself. The change didn't happen overnight. For weeks, Maria struggled with the concept. How can I imagine being wealthy when I can barely pay rent? She asked herself. But then she understood. She wasn't trying to deny her current circumstances. She was learning to live from the end result. Instead of imagining worst-case scenarios, which she'd been doing unconsciously for years, Maria began to live from the end. Every night before sleep, she wouldn't just wish for a better life. She would enter the state of already having it. She'd feel the satisfaction of financial freedom. She'd experience the joy of watching her daughter graduate college without debt. She'd inhabit the feeling of being successful, not tomorrow, but now. She'd fall asleep in that state, impressing her subconscious mind with the reality of her fulfilled desires. The first week, nothing changed externally. The second week, a customer at her coffee shop mentioned a business opportunity. The third week, she met someone who became a mentor. 6 months later, she was managing 3 coffee shops. 18 months after that, she owned them. The secret, she stopped trying to change her circumstances and started changing her state. But there's something even deeper here that will transform how you see everything. And it has to do with why most people fail at manifestation. Here's the truth. Nobody wants to hear. Most people aren't manifesting what they want. They're manifesting what they fear. They spend their days worrying about what might go wrong, imagining worst-case scenarios, and then they wonder why their lives feel like a series of problems. The world is yourself pushed out. Every fear you entertain, every doubt you nurture, every worry you rehearse, it's all being broadcast to your subconscious mind, which then works tirelessly to make it real. Think about it. How much time do you spend each day imagining things going wrong versus imagining them going right? Be honest, most people spend 90% of their mental energy on what they don't want and 10% on what they do want. Then they're surprised when their life reflects that ratio. But here's what will change everything for you and what nobody tells you about manifestation. The harder you grip, the faster it slips away. It's like trying to hold water in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the more it escapes through your fingers. I learned this lesson the hard way. Years ago, I was desperate for a specific outcome. I visualized constantly, affirmed endlessly, and fought against every doubt that arose. I was doing everything right according to the books I'd read, but nothing was happening. In fact, things were getting worse. Then I discovered the law of assumption. Assumption isn't forcing or demanding. It's a quiet knowing, a gentle certainty that what you desire is already yours. Think about breathing. You don't force air into your lungs, you simply allow it. You don't struggle to make your heart beat. It beats because that's its nature. This is the state you must cultivate with your desires. The more desperately you want something, the more you're affirming that you don't have it. The more you need it to happen, the more you're living in the state of lack. But when you assume it's already yours, when you rest in that knowing, you're living from the end, and that's where the magic happens. But here's where most people sabotage themselves, and once you know this, you'll never make the same mistake again. It has to do with the secret conversation you're having with yourself all day long. Right now, as you're listening this, there's a voice in your head. It's commenting on these words, agreeing or disagreeing, remembering related experiences. This inner dialogue never stops. It runs from the moment you wake up until you fall asleep. And here's what will shock you. This internal conversation is creating your reality more powerfully than any visualization technique or affirmation practice ever could. I call this the secret of the soul. What you say to yourself about yourself and your world is what you manifest, not what you say out loud, not what you write in your journal, but what you say in the privacy of your own mind. Most people's internal dialogue sounds like this. I hope this works out. I can't afford that. Things like this don't happen to people like me. I'll believe it when I see it. But the person who manifests effortlessly has a completely different internal conversation. Everything always works out for me. I have more than enough. Good things happen to me all the time. I see it because I believe it. Most people live from their current circumstances, always looking toward their desires as something out there to be attained. They say things like, when I get the money, then I'll feel abundant. Or when I find love, then I'll feel worthy. But I taught you to collapse time and space through imagination. Live from the end. Feel now what you would feel if your desire were already fulfilled. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. Robert was a struggling actor who had been auditioning for years without success. He was living from his current circumstances, feeling rejected, unworthy, and unsuccessful. Every audition confirmed his fears. Then Robert learned about living from the end. Instead of going to auditions hoping to book a role, he started going to auditions from the state of being a successful actor. He felt the confidence, the worthiness, the knowing that he belonged on that stage. The change was immediate. Casting directors started noticing something different about him. Within 3 months, he booked his first major role. Within a year, he was working consistently. The external circumstances followed the internal state. Tonight, before you sleep, don't pray for what you want. Give thanks for what you already have in imagination. Feel the reality of your fulfilled desire. If you want love, feel loved. If you want success, feel successful. If you want peace, be peaceful. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one. When you consistently live from the end, you're literally programming your reality. Modern neuroscience confirms this theory. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, a network of neurons that acts as a filter, determining what information gets through to your conscious awareness. When you live from the end, when you assume your desire is already fulfilled, you program this system to notice opportunities, people, and circumstances that align with that assumption. Suddenly, the right people start showing up in your life. The perfect opportunities present themselves. It's not magic, it's neuroscience working in harmony with consciousness. There's a specific way to do this that most people miss, and it's the difference between occasional success and consistent manifestation. Your mind is like a garden. Every thought you think is a seed. Most people plant weeds all day long. Worries, doubts, fears, and then wonder why their life looks like chaos. You are what you are by virtue of the state of consciousness from which you think, feel, and act. This means every moment is a choice point. Every thought is either moving you toward your desire or away from it. But here's what most people don't understand. Mental discipline isn't about suppressing negative thoughts. It's about becoming aware of them and consciously choosing different ones. Let me tell you about Jennifer, a woman who wanted to start her own business but was paralyzed by fear. Her mind was constantly filled with thoughts like, what if I fail? What if I lose money? What if people judge me? Instead of fighting these thoughts, Jennifer learned to observe them and redirect. When she caught herself thinking, what if I fail? She would gently redirect to, what if I succeed beyond my wildest dreams? When she noticed I don't have enough money, she would shift to, I have everything I need to begin. This wasn't positive thinking. This was conscious creation. She was deliberately choosing the thoughts that aligned with her desired outcome. This daily practice will change everything for you. Each morning, before your feet hit the floor, spend 10 minutes living in your ideal reality. Feel it, inhabit it, become it. This isn't daydreaming. This is reality construction. But here's the crucial part. Carry that feeling with you throughout the day. When doubt creeps in, and it will, don't fight it. Simply return to your scene. Return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Athletes have known this secret for decades. They visualize perfect performances, and their bodies respond as if they've actually practiced those movements. You can do the same with your desires. If you want to give a successful presentation, rehearse it mentally first. Feel the confidence, hear the applause, experience the satisfaction of a job well done. If you want to have a difficult conversation, rehearse it going perfectly. Feel the mutual understanding, the resolution, the love. Your subconscious mind will then orchestrate circumstances to match your mental rehearsal. This leads us to the most misunderstood aspect of manifestation, the role of time. What I'm about to share will completely change how you approach your desires. I spoke of the bridge of incidents, the seemingly random events that connect your current reality to your desired one. Your job isn't to figure out how your desire will manifest. Your job is to maintain the state and trust the process. This is where most people get stuck. They want to control the how, the when, the where. They want to micromanage the universe. But when you try to control the method, you often block the miracle. Let me share a powerful story about this. Amanda had been trying to manifest her dream job for months. She applied to specific companies, networked relentlessly, and visualized getting hired by particular organizations. Nothing was working. Then she learned about the bridge of incidents. Instead of focusing on specific companies, she began to live in the state of having her dream job. She felt the satisfaction, the fulfillment, the joy of doing work she loved. 2 weeks later, she got into an elevator with a stranger. They struck up a conversation. It turned out this person was launching a new company and was looking for someone with Amanda's exact skills. She had her dream job within a month. The bridge of incidents had connected her desire to her reality in a way she never could have planned or orchestrated. There are 3 types of bridges. People bridges. The right person appears at the right time with the right opportunity. Circumstance bridges. Events unfold in a way that creates the perfect opportunity for your desire to manifest. And inner bridges. You develop new skills, insights, or clarity that naturally leads to your desire. And there's one more element that most people completely overlook, and it might be the most important factor in your manifestation success. The self-help industry doesn't want you to know that you can visualize perfectly, affirm consistently, and take massive action. But if your emotions aren't aligned with your desire, you'll get mixed results at best. You need to understand this deeply, because feeling is the secret. Not just any feeling, but the specific feeling that would be natural to you if your desire were already fulfilled. Most people try to manufacture positive emotions or suppress negative ones. But manifestation isn't about being positive all the time. It's about being emotionally congruent with your desire. If you want wealth, but feel guilty about money, you'll sabotage yourself. If you want love, but feel unworthy of it, you'll push it away. If you want success, but fear judgment, you'll stay small. Take a moment right now to think about your biggest desire. Now notice what emotions come up. Excitement, fear, doubt, unworthiness. These emotions are clues to what you really believe about your desire. The goal isn't to eliminate negative emotions, it's to transform them. Fear can become excitement. Doubt can become curiosity. Unworthiness can become gratitude for growth. This brings us to perhaps the most powerful technique I can teach you, and it's something you can start using tonight. The revision technique. This is something revolutionary. You can change your past, not the facts, but the meaning. And when you change the meaning of your past, you change your future. Every night before sleep, revise your day. Did someone treat you poorly? Revise it. Imagine them treating you with respect. Did you fail at something? Revise it. See yourself succeeding. Did you have a difficult conversation? Revise it to go smoothly. This isn't self-deception. This is reality editing. You're changing the story you tell yourself about who you are. And that story becomes your reality. But revision goes deeper than just editing your day. You can revise your entire past. Those childhood experiences that left you feeling unworthy, revise them. See yourself being celebrated and valued. Those failures that still haunt you, revise them into learning experiences that made you stronger. Every time you remember something, you're not just recalling it, you're actually recreating it in your brain. Each memory is reconstructed based on your current state of consciousness. This means your past isn't fixed. It's fluid, constantly being rewritten based on who you are now. When you consciously revise your memories, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're creating new neural pathways that support your desired reality. I used to carry a story about being rejected in high school that affected my confidence for years. Every time I faced potential rejection, that old story would surface and I'd sabotage myself. Then I learned about revision. I went back to that high school experience and rewrote it. I imagined being accepted, celebrated, valued. I felt what it would have felt like to belong. At first it felt strange, almost like lying to myself. But I persisted, and something remarkable happened. My confidence began to return. I started taking risks I'd avoided for years. New opportunities opened up. The external facts hadn't changed, but the meaning had. And that new meaning created a new reality. But there's one more secret that ties everything together, and it's hiding in plain sight in the most famous manifestation story ever told. It's been discovered that the Bible isn't a historical document, it's a psychological manual for manifestation. Every story, every character, every miracle is actually describing states of consciousness and how they create reality. Take the story of Jesus walking on water. Most people see this as a supernatural miracle, but it was revealed as a metaphor for rising above the sea of mass consciousness. When you live from the end, when you assume your desire is already fulfilled, you're walking on water. You're moving through life unaffected by external circumstances. Or consider the story of Moses parting the Red Sea. The Red Sea represents obstacles and limitations. When you truly believe in your desire, when you live from the end, the obstacles part before you, not through force, but through faith. Jesus said, "Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Notice the tense, have received, not will receive. This is living from the end. This is praying from the place of already having what you desire. Most people pray from lack, begging for what they don't have. But the prayer of faith gives thanks for what is already fulfilled in imagination. And this understanding leads us to the most practical application of these principles, and it's something you can implement starting today. Tomorrow morning, I want you to try something different. Before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, before you remember your limitations, spend just 10 minutes living in your desired reality. Don't just visualize it, live it. Feel what you would feel. Think what you would think. Move how you would move. Speak how you would speak. If you desire wealth, feel wealthy. How does a wealthy person start their day? With gratitude, with confidence, with certainty about their value. If you desire love, feel loved. How does a beloved person wake up? With warmth, with security, with appreciation for life. This isn't pretending, this is becoming. You're not trying to convince yourself of something false. You're remembering something true, the truth of who you really are beneath all the limitations you've accepted. Each evening, before sleep, conduct a review of your day. But not just any review, a selective review. Focus only on the moments that align with your desired reality. If someone complimented you, replay it. If something went well, re-experience it. If you felt confident, magnify that feeling. What about the negative experiences? Don't suppress them, revise them. See them playing out differently. Feel different emotions about them. Transform them into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. There is no one to change but self. Every person in your world, every circumstance you encounter, every experience you have is a reflection of your state of consciousness. This isn't just spiritual philosophy, it's practical psychology. When you change your state, you change what you attract. When you change what you attract, you change your world. The person who treated you poorly, they're reflecting back your own sense of unworthiness. The opportunity that passed you by, it's showing you where you don't yet believe in your value. The love that eludes you, it's waiting for you to love yourself first. This might be hard to accept, but it's also incredibly liberating. It means you're not at the mercy of external circumstances. You're the operant power in your world. You get to choose. Here's the final practice. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I want you to do something that might feel uncomfortable at first. I want you to take full responsibility for everything in your life, the good, the bad, and the neutral. Not blame, but responsibility. Say to yourself, I am the author of my experience. Everything in my world is a reflection of my consciousness. If I want to change my world, I must change myself. Then, from that place of total responsibility, imagine your life exactly as you want it to be. Feel the fulfillment of your deepest desires. Know that as you fall asleep in that state, you're impressing your subconscious mind with a new pattern. The choice is yours. You now have the keys to the kingdom. You understand that imagination creates reality. That living from the end changes everything. That your state of consciousness is the true cause of your external world. The question isn't whether these principles work. They're working right now, whether you're conscious of them or not. The question is, will you use them deliberately to create the life you want, or will you continue to create by default? Every moment is a new beginning. Every thought is a new choice. Every feeling is a new direction. You don't have to wait for conditions to change. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for worthiness. You can start now. You can start here. You can start with the very next thought you think and the very next feeling you feel. Remember, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and observe the route that your attention follows. Your job isn't to figure out how it will happen. Your job is to assume it has already happened and then let life surprise you with the methods. The power isn't in the technique, it's in you. It always has been. These principles simply help you remember what you already know. You are the creator of your experience. If you apply these principles consistently, if you make living from the end your natural state, if you revise your past and script your future through imagination, your life will change. Not gradually, but dramatically. Not someday, but soon. Your desires aren't wishes, they're prophecies. They're showing you who you're becoming. Trust them. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Thank you for being here today. If this resonates with you, if you feel the truth of these words stirring something within you, then you're ready for the next step. Comment below with one thing you're going to start living from the end of. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it. The world needs more conscious creators, more people who understand that reality is malleable and that consciousness is the only true power. And remember, you're not learning to manifest. You're remembering that you already are manifesting. The question is, what are you choosing to create? The power is within you. It always has been. Now it's time to use it consciously, deliberately, and with the full knowledge that you are the God of your own world. Your new life begins the moment you assume it already exists. What are you waiting for?